Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another meal prep video. My goal in this video is to give you meal prep and batch cooking inspiration and motivation to meal prep for yourself and your family. And I'm super excited because I incorporated some Instant Pot and air fryer recipes in this video. Let's get started. So we are going to start with air frying a whole chicken. So that's just one of the chickens that I picked up at Costco. I'm going to use this Smokehouse Mesquite seasoning, barbecue seasoning that I picked up at our local veggie ranch market. Some butter, and that's literally all I am going to use. You can use pepper, you can use all kinds of different seasonings, but that's what I chose to use. So I just melted some butter in that bowl, and then I went in with my hands, and I just buttered that bad boy up. I even went in under the skin so that way it just kept the chicken nice and moist while it cooked in the air fryer. And make sure you turn it over and do the same thing to the other side. Then after I washed my hands, of course, I went in with that barbecue seasoning and I just kind of poured quite a bit on there, and then I went in with my hands on that and kind of turned it into a rub, and I did that all over the chicken as well, again underneath the skin as well. And then I just laid the chicken in the basket of the air fryer. Then this was the first time I ever cooked anything in my air fryer because I got this for Christmas. This was a kitchen gadget that I got. I was so excited. Did you guys get any kitchen gadgets? Let me know down below. But I put the temperature at 350 degrees, and then I let that cook for 30 minutes on the one side. And then after 30 minutes, I took it out and I flipped it and I cooked it another 30 minutes. But this chicken was a huge chicken. So 30 minutes on each side was not enough. So I had to cook it a little bit longer. So the next time I cook one of these massive Costco chickens, I'm probably going to cook it for around maybe 33 to 35 minutes on each side, and that should do the trick. But look how gorgeous that is. The skin came out beautifully. This chicken was moist and delicious. Next up, I'm going to cook up some of these sausages that I also got at Costco, and I am going to cook them in the air fryer as well because I just love that air fryer. So I just laid them all on parchment paper that I placed in the tray of the air fryer, and then I did cook them at 350 degrees for around 13 minutes. And then I did flip them and I had to cook them a little bit longer. I probably should have flipped them in the middle of cooking, but I don't know, anytime I get a new gadget, it's like a learning experience. But either way, they still came out juicy and delicious. And the fam liked them, so that's what's important. Next up, I'm going to be making some keto biscuits. These are my favorite biscuits. They are super easy and there's not many ingredients. So I threw in there 2 cups of almond flour. That is 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of salt, and then I did take 1/3 cup of butter, and I'm just going to kind of cut it up a little bit in that bowl, and then I melted it in the microwave, and then I added that to the dry ingredients, as well as 2 large eggs. And then I just go in there and I stir it up until everything is incorporated nicely. I did spray my cookie sheet, and basically I just take a tablespoon and I just drop some dough down onto the cookie sheet. It makes 12 biscuits. I did try to shape them into a biscuit shape a little bit, and I preheated my oven to 375. It says to bake them at 350, but my oven was already preheated to 375. And I put them in there and I kept them in there for about 15 minutes, and that is how they came out. They came out beautifully, golden brown, and these are so good. They come pretty darn close to the real deal, and I made some biscuits and gravy with these. So good. Next up, I'm going to be making some cauli mash. So I just cut up the cauliflower and I threw it in a bowl. I do soak it in some vinegar water just to get the bacteria off. And then I have a little steamer basket that I put on my saucepan, and I just throw it in there and I steam my cauliflower first. Then when the cauliflower is nice and soft, I like to drain it with a cloth. I just use a dish towel and I get as much liquid off as I can, and then I throw it in my food processor. I add around a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of butter, about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of sour cream, about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of cream cheese, salt and pepper, and then I just blend it up in my food processor. As far as everything that you put into it, it's kind of what you like and to your taste, but it was nice, creamy, and so delicious. You guys gotta try that. Next up is creamy Brussels sprouts in the Instant Pot. Same thing with the Brussels sprouts. I cut them up, I cut them in half, and I soak them in vinegar water. And then I'm just throwing them in the bottom of my Instant Pot. I am throwing in a little bit of garlic, around a tablespoon of butter, cream cheese. I will have this recipe in the description box below so you can follow the recipe exactly. Then I am going to throw in there, it was about 1.5 cups of vegetable stock, so I throw that in there. Again, all the recipes that I have will be in the description box below. It'll be a link. Just click on that link and you can follow the recipe to the exact recipe. I am going to throw in there a little bit of salt, and we got to have some pepper in there as well. You want to make sure you season it up real nicely so that way it has lots of flavor. And then I'm just going to throw the lid on there, make sure it's on sealing, and then I just put it on manual for about 3 minutes, and then I let it do its thing. And then when I opened it up, everything was nice and cooked. I did add in some Parmesan cheese and some bacon crumbles to it and then stirred it up. And after I stirred it up, I did go ahead and put the lid back on, and I just let it sit on warm for around 5 minutes, and that was the finished product. That was delicious. That was a big hit with myself and my husband anyway, but everybody else in my family doesn't like Brussels sprouts. Next up, we are going to be making some meatloaf, but we're going to do it in the air fryer. That is 2 pounds of ground beef, and then I did use around 1/2 cup of the Max pork rinds. And then I also threw in there around 3 tablespoons of sugar-free barbecue sauce. That barbecue sauce is my absolute favorite. It's delicious. And then I threw in there around a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. Then, of course, you got to add seasonings. I love seasonings, so I threw in there some salt. Again, I threw in some pepper. And then I like oregano in my meatloaf, so I threw in some oregano. And then I also added 2 eggs, and then I went in with my hands. So I did cook this in the air fryer, and I cooked it at 390 degrees. And I initially cooked it for 40 minutes. However, the 40 minutes wasn't enough. The middle wasn't done. And I think I should have turned it or something because, or I should have covered it with foil because the top of it was a little bit dry. The middle was good and it was juicy and all that, but the top of it was a little bit dry. So I think I'm gonna have to play around with that to see how I need to do that, so that way the top of the meatloaf isn't dry. But either way, it was still good. All right, so that's it for this week's meal prep batch cooking series. Now you can go out and get your meal prep on. I will leave my Instagram down in the description box below. Don't forget to tag me and let me know what you're making. Let me know what you're batch cooking for yourself and your family. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate every single one of you guys. And don't forget to go out there and make today even better than yesterday. And I will talk to you in my next video. Bye. On my own,
but I don't know why. You hit the road, but you don't realize I won't look back when you're around. I won't think twice when